Hey everyone, welcome to the channel X. I wanted to do this video because some people have been asking about how I stained the wood on the pieces for the AK-47, the Washington. Actually, I'm going to remove this for right now because I don't want to talk about that quite yet. So, what we've got here is all the materials you're going to need to do like a stain job on any kind of like a surplus wood, or like if you've got an oak stock, or I guess these pieces are probably oak. I'm not positive what they are, what the wood is on the AK washer. But here you go. These are the pieces taken off of the washer. This is the forefront lower, and then the front upper for the gas tube, like the cover for it, basically. And that's kind of how it looks on the gun, I guess. Kind of like that. Anyway, so really easy to remove. Maybe I'll put a video up later about how to actually get them off the weapon. The one on top's a little bit difficult because you have to take the gas tube off of the weapon, and then you have to hold both pieces, like you have to hold the wood and then hold the gas tube and twist them. And if you twist this 180 degrees, it'll come off of the gas tube. But the first time you do it, it's just really tough to get off. At least that's what I found. So I'm going to try to keep this video short, but I do want to go over everything that you need to know on how to refinish these wood pieces. From the factory, they come very rough, as I mentioned in my other video, and the color is going to be like it's going to be a lighter, kind of a almost like a, what do you think of as like a, well, typical wood stock color from the factory, but it's not finished at all. So it's easier because it's not finished. You don't have to sand it down as much. So the product I have is it's a 4x0 or quadruple 0 steel wool. I think a couple of the other people that have made gun videos on YouTube are using the 000. And then I've got 800 grit sandpaper. And I know there's some gun guys out there right now going, "Ew, don't use sandpaper on your wood. Be careful because it'll take product off." And yeah, it will, but if you want to just hit it real quick with an 800 grit, that's kind of what I did with these. But it wasn't very long. I mean, I hit it real quick, and then I hit it quick. I hit it, and then I quit it. And then I used the steel wool, and I went over it with the steel wool quite a bit. That was a majority of the sanding was with the steel wool, and this steel wool is really soft. It feels like I mean, it's steel wool, but it's just a very fine thread of steel wool. So sandpaper first if you want to take it down a little bit quicker. Then the steel wool. The only thing about the sandpaper, this is why guys don't like to use the sandpaper. You got to be careful because it'll start to take the grain of the wood away. So if you want to keep the graininess look to it, I would probably say don't use the sandpaper, or use just, I mean, very sparingly. So the sandpaper, the steel wool, and then what I've got here is a mini wax, or Min Wax is the brand, and it is Red Oak 215 is the number of this product, I guess, for the Min Wax. Wood finish, I don't know, it's pretty typical. You find this stuff at Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever. The directions say that you want to take the wood down to sand off whatever prior finish there may be, and then hit it with the steel wool to open the pores. That's really the purpose of even sanding it a little bit if there's no finish to it, is you want to open up the pores of the wood a little bit. Just use a terry cloth or a washcloth, and you don't have to use very much of it. The first time you stain it, you'll notice a pretty big difference. And then what I did is, after the first time I stained it, I let it sit for I think it was about 8 hours, and then I stained it again and let it sit for an additional 8, and then I stained it one last time, a third time, and then that's when you want to let it sit for 24 hours. And then after 24 hours, I think it says you can use, let's just check here real quick. Do not sand in between coats. I guess that's pretty common sense. You don't want to take the stain off that you just put on. After a minimum of 8 hours, complete your project by applying a clear protective finish. Doesn't say to sand after the final coat of stain, so I guess you put on the final coat of stain, and I can't remember if I sanded that final coat or not. I don't think I did. So then you apply the protective coat. I use Minwax fast drying polyurethane. Can't talk. Super durability, and it's the clear semi-gloss. They have a semi-gloss, a gloss, and then they have just a clear. Semi-gloss being kind of in the middle. And I wanted these pieces to have a little bit of gloss to them, but really they didn't even come out with very much at all. So I hit it with a coat of the semi-gloss. I let it sit for, I think that time I let it sit for 24 hours, and then I sanded it. So the first sand after any of the stains came after the first coat of the semi-gloss. And then, so I let that first coat sit for 24 hours, I sanded it, and then I applied the final coat. This is something I did several years ago, and this was my first wood stain project, really. You can tell the difference in the color. This stain being quite a bit darker, this stain being lighter, more blonde, if you want to call it that, which I think suits the era of this weapon. Actually, this came out, in some ways, it looks like it's a little more glossy than these pieces in this lighting that I have right here. Maybe this wood just finished better, I'm not sure. The stain that I used for this, it was the same brand, Minwax, but it was not the red oak. I used the wood stock, was the color code that they called it. Woodstock, I'm sorry, Woodstock, Gunstock wood stain. That was the color that I used for this gun. Woodstock. Anyway, so another video for this gun. I'll talk about the pros and cons of that. It's a surplus gun, you know, old bolt action rifle, but it's a hand cannon. But we'll talk about that later. So anyway, sandpaper if you want to. Steel wool. Now the steel wool is a slow process, and especially if it's been finished prior to your project, the steel wool is going to take a long time. But the finish that you get, especially after the coats of the clear, don't use a sandpaper. No way. Use the steel wool. And if you want to go like a 000 steel wool, if that's all you can find, if I could have found the 000, I would have actually preferred that, because this 40 is so gentle. It takes a little while to get the effect, but it looks really nice. So, and you know, some guys will restain these pieces for their AKs, and they'll leave them on the weapon. They'll tape off, you know, the edges, if you will, you know, like where the metal is, and then they'll do all the sanding with it on the gun, and they'll never even take it off. You can do that, but I mean, these pieces are so easy to take off. I don't know why you would just even risk hitting or nicking the metal, or doing anything weird like getting clear coat on the metal. I mean, it's probably not that big a deal, but why not just take the pieces off? One last little thing, I used the red oak, hoping that it was going to get a real dark red, almost like a red cherry, or not a cherry, but like a red mahogany color to it. It didn't really happen. It kind of just went to like a dark brown with a little, there, if you look at it with sunlight, you can see the red in it, especially like right here, you can see a little bit of that red, but it did not come out as red as I wanted it to. I wanted it to be kind of that Soviet red that you see on some AK-47s. So anyway, that's how I did the refinish on these wood pieces. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully next time I'll have a new gun on deck. Something I've been waiting to buy for a little while now. So we'll see what happens, and stay tuned. See ya.